Here's something cruise lines never put in writing. Your cabin steward can quietly fix the exact problems that ruin a senior's cruise: bad sleep, medication storage, night falls, sore backs from luggage, and almost nobody asks for any of it. I sat behind that desk for 14 years and watched it happen, sailing after sailing. These are the 14 requests that actually work, ranked from good to the one that changes your whole week. Number 14. A second bin for the bathroom. It sounds too small to matter, and that's exactly why almost nobody asks for it. Every steward keeps spare bins at the service station, and most will place a second one in your bathroom within minutes if you request it. For passengers managing test strips, bandages, or anything medical, having one bin for regular trash and one for medical waste changes how that room gets cleaned every single day. I trained new stewards to actually prefer this request because mixed medical waste in a general bin creates a hazard for the person emptying it, and a guest who separates it themselves makes the whole week safer for everyone touching that cabin, including the crew member who never even meets you. Ask on day one, say this: "Could I have a second small bin for the bathroom? I use it for medical items." 30 seconds, no cost. And it's the kind of request stewards remember because it shows you understand what they're dealing with behind the scenes. That one alone saves a headache, but the next request solves something your body will thank you for. Number 13. Daily ice delivery and a fridge that actually holds temperature. Cabin fridges are not built for anything that needs to stay cold and stable. They swing several degrees throughout the day without you ever noticing, sometimes enough to matter if you're storing something sensitive. Stewards can set a standing ice delivery for your cabin, once or twice daily, and in many cases they can request the fridge itself be checked or swapped if it's not holding a safe range. I watched passengers keep insulin in a minibar for a full week out of pure habit, never knowing a single phone call could have fixed it on day one. Ask your steward directly on embarkation day. Say this: "I keep something that needs to stay cold. Would it be possible to get ice delivered daily and have the fridge temperature checked?" It takes them under a minute to arrange, and once it's set, nobody has to ask again for the rest of the sailing. Some ships will even swap in a slightly larger fridge from an unused cabin if yours is running warm, but only if you flag it early, before the deck pantry gets busy with dinner service and everyone's requests start stacking up at once. Comfort is one thing, but what's hiding behind a piece of cardboard nobody looks at is another. Number 12. The hidden service menu most passengers never open. On several major lines, your steward leaves a card with a QR code on it, meant for ordering towels, cleaning, and cabin supplies directly without calling anyone or waiting on hold. Almost nobody scans it, and I mean almost nobody. Maybe one cabin in 20 on a typical sailing. The passengers who do get requests filled in 30 to 60 minutes instead of waiting on hold at guest services during peak hours when 300 other cabins are calling the same desk. For seniors who get tired of repeating the same request to 3 different people, this single card skips the entire chain entirely. Scan it on day one, even if you don't need anything yet, just to see what's actually listed, because half of what's on there was never mentioned to you at check-in. Ask your steward, is there a service menu or QR code for this cabin? You'll be surprised how much sits behind that one square of cardboard nobody bothers to look at, and stewards rarely bring it up unless you ask first, because most guests simply never notice it's there. Small requests add up fast, and this next one nobody thinks to actually schedule. Number 11. A housekeeping schedule built around you instead of the ship. Cabins get serviced in blocks, and most passengers just accept whatever time that block happens to fall, even when it directly conflicts with their routine. What they don't know is that stewards can shift your specific time slot to match medication schedules, rest periods, or physical therapy routines, as long as you tell them clearly on day one, before the route for the week gets locked in. I had guests get their afternoon nap interrupted for 6 straight days because they never once mentioned it bothered them, assuming it was simply fixed and unchangeable. Once they did, the knock stopped completely for the rest of the week. Say this to your steward directly. Could we set a preferred service window? I rest between 1 and 3 each afternoon. It costs the steward nothing to adjust their route, and it turns your cabin from unpredictable into something you can actually plan your day around, instead of guessing when the knock will come. Here's where things shift from convenient to something you'll actually notice every single night. Number 10. A standing towel and linen setup that never needs repeating. Most passengers ask for extra towels once, use them, and then run short by day 3 because nobody set a pattern from the start. Stewards can lock in a fixed allocation for your cabin, extra bath towels, a dedicated hand towel, even a spare blanket kept ready, and once it's set, it holds for the entire sailing without you asking twice, even on turnover days when the steward is juggling a dozen other cabins. For seniors who use towels for balance getting in and out of the shower, or who simply run warm or cold at night, this removes one more thing to think about every single day. Say this on embarkation day. Could we set a standing towel and blanket allocation for the week so we don't have to ask each time? Stewards genuinely prefer this, because a clear standing request is easier to manage than 5 separate ones scattered across 7 days, and it means they never have to guess what your cabin needs on a busy turnover morning. Most guests never connect this next request to the exact moment they're most likely to get hurt. Number 9. A nightlight positioned exactly where you actually need it. Falls at night are one of the most common incidents I saw reported from senior cabins, almost always in the dark walk between the bed and the bathroom, in a cabin layout that's completely unfamiliar for the first few nights. Stewards can leave a small motion light near the doorway, or keep the bathroom light on low with the door cracked, and reposition lamps so switches are within reach from the bed itself, not across the room where you'd have to stand up in the dark to reach them. It's never offered automatically because nobody flags it as a safety issue. They just quietly deal with tripping in the dark for a week, instead of saying something on day 1. Say this to your steward. I get up during the night. Could we set up a small nightlight near the bathroom door? It's one of the fastest requests on this entire list to fulfill, and it's the kind of thing that prevents the exact injury that ends up costing you the rest of your cruise. Sometimes the rest of your trip home, too. Once medical equipment enters the cabin, the whole conversation with your steward changes. Number 8. A full CPAP support setup, not just an extension cord. Most passengers know to request distilled water in advance, but stewards can do far more once they actually know a CPAP is in the cabin. That includes positioning the machine away from walking paths so tubing doesn't become a tripping hazard in the middle of the night, replenishing water throughout the week without being asked twice, and flagging the cabin so housekeeping handles the equipment carefully during cleaning instead of shifting it around every single morning. I watched guests unplug and reset up their own machine every single day because nobody told them the steward could just work around it entirely. Tell your steward directly on day 1. I use a CPAP machine. Could we set it up somewhere it won't get disturbed during cleaning? Once that's said out loud, the machine practically disappears from your daily routine for the rest of the sailing, and you stop thinking about it every single morning before breakfast. Sleep is one battle, and the bathroom floor is an entirely different one. Number 7. A full bathroom safety kit. Not just a single shower chair. Shower stools exist on most ships, but almost nobody asks for the full setup. A non-slip mat under the stool, a grab bar attachment where the ship allows it, and a bath mat right outside the shower door so the floor stays dry the second you step out onto it. I saw more near falls in cruise bathrooms than almost anywhere else on the ship, because that space is small, wet, and completely unfamiliar to someone who's never used it before, especially at 3 in the morning, half asleep. Ask your steward for the complete setup at once. Could we get a shower stool, a non-slip mat, and anything else available for bathroom safety. Asking for all three together instead of one at a time means it usually arrives as a single delivery instead of 3 separate trips spread across your first 2 days, and your steward won't need 3 separate reminders either. Needles and medication bring us into territory stewards rarely discuss out loud. Number 6. A proper sharps container instead of a hidden problem in your trash. If you use insulin pens or any injectable medication, throwing needles into a regular bin is more common than you'd think, and it's genuinely dangerous for the person emptying that bin later in the day without knowing what's inside it. Stewards can request a sharps container through the medical center, delivered directly to your cabin, and collected at the end of the sailing. No separate trip required on your part at all. I had guests hide needles wrapped in tissue for an entire week because they assumed asking would draw attention to something private and embarrassing. It draws attention to nothing. It's treated as completely routine, the same as asking for extra pillows. Say this quietly to your steward. I use injectable medication. Could we get a sharps container for the cabin? One sentence removes a hazard that's been sitting in guest cabins far more often than any of us like to admit, and it takes the medical team about 10 minutes to deliver once they're asked. Once the medical center gets involved, everything about your cabin quietly upgrades with it. Number 5. Priority attention after any visit to the medical center. Here's something almost nobody realizes exists, and I mean almost nobody. Not even repeat cruisers who've sailed a dozen times. When a passenger sees the ship's doctor for anything beyond seasickness pills, that information can be quietly passed to the cabin steward, and the cabin gets bumped up in priority for the rest of the sailing. More frequent check-ins, faster response to requests, an extra look to make sure you're actually up and moving during the day instead of struggling alone. It's never announced because it's not a perk the cruise line wants to advertise. It's closer to an internal safety net that runs quietly in the background without a name. If you've been seen by the medical team, mention it to your steward directly. I saw the doctor yesterday for something. Could you check in on our cabin a bit more this week? Stewards take that seriously, and the difference in attention is immediate, often within the same day. Outlets seem trivial until you're juggling 3 medical devices and 1 plug. Number 4. A cruise-approved power strip for your cabin. Cabins are chronically short on outlets, and seniors juggling a CPAP, a phone, a tablet, and hearing aid chargers run out fast, usually by the first evening on board. Some ships keep a small stock of approved non-surge power strips specifically for this exact situation, but they're never left in the cabin by default because inventory is limited and they're rationed by request only, cabin by cabin. Guests who don't know this exists end up daisy-chaining personal adapters, which is against ship safety policy and gets confiscated the moment a steward notices it during cleaning, sometimes without warning. Ask on day 1, is a power strip available for this cabin? I have several devices that need charging. If the ship carries them, you'll usually have one by that evening, and it solves a problem you'd otherwise fight with for the entire week, plug by plug, every single night before bed. Your back will thank you for what's coming next, and most passengers learn this the hard way. Number 3. Full luggage handling, not just delivery to your door. Porters get your bags to the corridor, but stewards will often bring them fully into the cabin and lift them onto the rack, especially for anyone who shouldn't be hauling 40 pounds over a raised threshold on their own. I watched more back injuries happen on embarkation afternoon than any other day of the entire cruise. It was always the same story. Someone insists they're fine, twists the wrong way, lifting a suitcase, and spends the next 4 days at the medical center instead of on excursions they already paid good money for. When your bags arrive, say this: our luggage just arrived. We're not able to lift it safely. Is someone able to bring it in? 30 seconds of asking against a week of a sore back is not a close decision, and stewards would genuinely rather help than watch you struggle in the hallway with a suitcase you can barely tip onto its wheels. Future cruises get easier the moment this one thing gets written down. Number 2. A permanent note in your file that follows you to the next ship. This is the one almost nobody knows exists, and it's the closest thing to a loyalty perk that costs the cruise line absolutely nothing. When a steward sets up your cabin exactly how you like it, mattress topper, ice schedule, medical needs, towel pattern, that information can be written into your guest profile, not just for this sailing but for every future cruise on that same line. On any ship in the fleet, I have seen returning passengers board a completely different ship and find their preferred setup already waiting because someone years earlier took 30 seconds to have it recorded properly in the system. Ask your current steward directly, "Could this be noted in my profile for future cruises?" It costs nothing. It takes one sentence, and it means every cabin you ever book on that line starts already knowing exactly what you need before you even unpack a single bag. And this brings us to the one request that outranks everything else on this entire list. Number 1. A cabin move justified by health, not just comfort. This is the upgrade that outranks everything else on this list because most passengers never realize it's available to them at all, let alone how to ask for it correctly. If motion sickness, dizziness, or poor sleep is being made worse by your cabin's location, high up, far forward, or near a loud venue, that's not just a preference, it's a medical accommodation, and stewards can escalate it to guest services differently than a simple upgrade request ever gets treated. I watched passengers move from a rough, high forward cabin to a calm, low, midship cabin within hours once they described symptoms instead of just asking for something better in vague terms. Say this clearly. The motion in this location is affecting my sleep and balance. Is there anything available closer to midship? Framed that way, it stops being a favor and becomes a solution. And it's the single request on this entire list that can change your entire week at sea, from the first night to the last. You don't need all 14. Pick 3 that fit your next cruise and ask on day 1. Like and subscribe for more.